Welcome, my friends. It is with great joy that I bring you a topic today that can either astonish or fascinate, taking us back to the dawn of humanity as we decipher the enigmas that have echoed since ancient times. Could there be descriptions of aliens in the Bible and other sacred texts? Prepare your minds and open your hearts, because today we will delve into the mysteries that the Bible, the Torah, the Zohar, and the apocryphal texts hold about the existence of life beyond Earth. That's right, my friends. Since the dawn of humanity, as we gaze upon the starry sky, we have wondered, are we alone in this infinite universe? And what if I told you that the answers to this age-old question, which has intrigued humanity for eons, might be hidden within the sacred texts themselves, that they are concealed, coded, between the lines of the scriptures that have guided civilizations for millennia? Yes, my friends, today we will dive deep into the ancient wisdom of the Kabbalah, the Torah, the Zohar, and the apocryphal texts in search of answers. We will attempt to understand the mysteries surrounding humanity's relationship with beings from other dimensions, beings that may have shaped our history and influenced our destiny. In this video, we will explore this incredible possibility together. We will delve into sacred texts, unraveling the mysteries of biblical language, demystifying beliefs, and revealing a new perspective on the history of humanity. To evolve and expand our consciousness, we must question and go beyond what we are told. Never passively accept what you hear. Question everything, including what I present and discuss here on this channel. I believe we must be open to various viewpoints, but ultimately, it is each person's consciousness that will bring the answer. It is with this spirit that I created this video, as I believe we must look beyond what certain religions preach as absolute truths. And for those of you who disagree with any viewpoint I present here, that's okay. It is part of our nature to constantly evolve and take the time to understand each message. Now you might be wondering, but how do we interpret the Bible from this perspective? This is where the ancient wisdom of Kabbalah comes in, teaching us to read between the lines, decipher symbols, and understand the language used in ancient times. Consider this: the Bible was written thousands of years ago, at a time when humanity didn't have the vocabulary we possess today to describe certain phenomena. Imagine trying to explain a smartphone to a shepherd from that era. Similarly, the Bible uses terms like angels, chariots of fire, beings of light, and mighty winds to describe what to them were grand and inexplicable events. But what if they were actually witnessing what we now call spacecraft, extraterrestrial beings with advanced technologies? Kabbalah teaches us to transcend the literal meaning of words and seek the hidden significance, the message behind the symbols. In this deep dive, we find fascinating parallels with what modern ufology investigates. For example, the Bible describes in Ezekiel the vision of wheels within wheels, moving with a deafening roar like a whirlwind of fire. Doesn't this description closely resemble modern accounts of UFO sightings? And what about the Nephilim, giants who inhabited the earth before the flood, mentioned in the book of Genesis? Could they be hybrid beings, the result of unions between humans and aliens? Of course, my friends, we must be cautious not to fall into fanciful and decontextualized interpretations, but we also cannot close our eyes to the evidence and the vastness of knowledge that remains unknown to us. The Bible transports us to a universe of possibilities, a universe that transcends our understanding of reality. It is a book of multiple worlds, where the history of humanity intertwines with the history of beings that transcend our own nature. From Genesis, we find mentions of celestial beings that have long been interpreted as angels, archangels, cherubim, seraphim, and even watchers. But if we look more closely, without clinging to dogmatic interpretations, we might question, are these beings not in fact messengers from other dimensions, sent by God to guide humanity? When we read about the angels singing with joy around the Creator during the creation of the universe, we can't help but imagine beings of incomparable beauty and wisdom, beings that transcend our own capacity for understanding. And these beings, who inhabit other planes of existence, are they merely abstractions? Are they just symbols? Here, an important reflection arises. The Bible was written in a specific historical context, with its own language and worldview. We cannot approach sacred texts literally, as if they were instruction manuals. The Bible is a book of revelations, a bridge between the divine world and the human world, where symbolic language is fundamental to conveying profound messages. Some scholars, bound by traditional interpretations, attempt to reduce these beings to mere symbols, mere metaphorical representations of goodness, justice, or divine power. But are we missing something fundamental by reducing these beings to mere allegories? Are we ignoring the possibility that God, in His infinite wisdom, created other forms of life in other planes of existence? The Bible connects us with the vastness of the universe, the grandeur of divine power, and the beauty of creation. In this context, the presence of beings from other dimensions interacting with humanity not only enriches the narrative, but also invites us to rethink our own understanding of reality. Jesus himself, in his teachings, referred to an ancient world, a world that existed before the flood, a world that transcends our known history. He made it clear that this history, this world, is intrinsically linked to our own existence. The Bible does not limit us to a linear universe, a single planet, or a single form of life. It opens the doors to an infinite universe, a universe of mysteries, wonders, and beings that might be closer than we imagine. And the presence of these beings, these aliens of the Bible, confronts us with a fundamental question: who are we in this universe? What is our role in the grand story of creation? And what message does God convey to us through these beings, through these messengers? But did you know that the Bible is not the only source to report the presence of powerful beings descending from the skies? Around the world, various ancient cultures preserve in their mythologies and legends very similar stories, with gods and heroes descending to earth in chariots of fire, transmitting knowledge and shaping civilizations. Intriguing, isn't it? For instance, in Egyptian mythology, we find the figure of Osiris, who is said to have come from the stars to teach humans agriculture, writing, and laws. Notice the similarity with the figure of angels, who guided and instructed humanity at various biblical moments. And what about the Anunnaki, Sumerian deities, who, according to their sacred texts, created humans through the genetic manipulation of primitive beings? Sounds familiar? Indeed, the story of man's creation from clay, as narrated in Genesis, takes on new dimensions when analyzed from this perspective. On the other side of the world, we find fascinating accounts in pre-Columbian cultures. The Mayans, for example, worshipped Kukulkan, the feathered serpent, who is said to have descended from the skies to bring knowledge and wisdom. The Mayan pyramids, with their astronomical observation platforms, suggest a profound knowledge of the stars and perhaps a connection with these celestial beings. And let's not forget the Vimanas, the flying chariots described in the Vedas, sacred texts of India dating back millennia. These flying machines, capable of crossing the skies at incredible speeds, were piloted by divine beings and used in epic battles. Do you see the convergence, my friends? Gods, angels, heroes, all descending from the skies, with powers and knowledge beyond our comprehension, shaping the history of humanity since the beginning. But why do these stories repeat across cultures so distant in time and space? Is it merely coincidence? Or is there an ancient truth, a lost link that connects all these narratives? I invite you to reflect on this. Open your minds to new possibilities, to the vastness of the universe, and to the possibility that we are not alone. After all, as the great Carl Sagan once said, if we are alone in the universe, it's a terrible waste of space, isn't it? Let's now delve into another impactful chapter of biblical history, one that presents us with profound questions about the nature of humanity and God's role in our story, Noah's flood. The story of the flood, recounted in the Bible and various cultures around the world, marks a pivotal moment of transformation in human history. It resonates within our collective unconscious, raising questions about God's power, human fallibility, and the necessity for new beginnings. In Genesis, we encounter the narrative of the Benai Elohim, the sons of God, who descended to earth and were captivated by the daughters of men, giving rise to the Nephilim, the giants. These beings, described as powerful and disproportionate, became a symbol of the corruption spreading through humanity, a corruption that intertwined with nature itself, tainting even the animals. The hybridization between humans and aliens, an idea that seems fanciful to us, is portrayed in the Bible as an act of rebellion, a genetic manipulation that challenged divine order. It was in this context of imbalance and chaos that God, in His mercy and justice, decided to cleanse the earth, resetting human history. The flood, therefore, can be seen as a planetary reset, a moment of rebirth, an opportunity to start anew. God, in His wisdom, entrusted Noah, a just and faithful man, with the mission to preserve life and ensure the continuity of creation. However, it's important to remember that the story of the flood is a complex text, rich in symbolism and interpretations. The Bible is not an instruction manual, and the story of the flood should not be viewed as a literal and isolated event. Some scholars suggest that the story of the flood is a metaphor, reflecting natural catastrophes that occurred in different parts of the world, or even a reflection of humanity's moral and spiritual corruption. Others, based on archaeological and anthropological studies, argue that the story of the flood may have been inspired by real events, such as tsunamis, large-scale floods, or even rising sea levels following the end of the last ice age. Regardless of the interpretation you adopt, it's undeniable that the story of the flood presents us with a fundamental question. How do we deal with corruption, disorder, and the challenges we face? And what is God's role in this process? Does He abandon us? Does He punish us? Or does He offer us a new chance? The story of the flood shows us that God is a God of mercy, a God who, even amidst destruction, preserves life and offers us the opportunity to begin again. But it also shows us that the choice is ours. We are responsible for our actions and the consequences of our deeds. God, in His infinite wisdom, created us to be co-creators, to be part of a universe in constant transformation. He invites us to reflect on our role in the world, on our responsibility towards creation. The flood, in its grandeur, is a story that invites us to deeply reflect on the nature of humanity, our relationship with the Creator, and the quest for salvation. Another part of the Bible that we should examine closely is the book of Revelation. For a long time, it has been seen as a harbinger of destruction, catastrophes, and an apocalyptic end for humanity. However, if we look beyond the literal text, unraveling the mysteries of its symbolic language, we will discover that Revelation invites us to deeply reflect on our relationship with the planet, nature, and the Creator Himself. Revelation is, in fact, an ecological book, a prophetic vision highlighting the destruction humanity is causing to the planet. It is a call to awareness about the consequences of our lack of understanding and respect for life. The imagery of polluted skies, a darkened sun, contaminated seas, and poisoned rivers prompts us to reflect on the reality we live in. Revelation is not about a tragic end, but rather a moment of transformation, a process of rebirth where humanity has the opportunity to reconnect with nature and God. The prophecies in Revelation, such as the burning of forests, pollution of the seas, rising waters, epidemics, and wars, are not merely signs of an impending end, but a reflection of our self-destruction. The Bible, with its ancient wisdom, points to the consequences of a life devoid of understanding, respect, and love. Here, Kabbalah offers a fundamental key to understanding Revelation: the interconnectedness of all that exists. Kabbalah teaches that everything in the universe is linked, that humanity is part of an organic whole, and that our actions directly impact the planet and all its inhabitants. When we deforest a woodland, contaminate a river, waste water, or cause suffering to an animal, we are not just acting selfishly. We are disrupting the universe's balance and disrespecting divine order. With an ecological perspective, we must remember that we are part of an interconnected network, where every action generates a reaction. This perspective compels us to act responsibly, with awareness and love for creation. Revelation shows us that humanity is at a crucial point of transformation. It is at this moment that spirituality, ancient wisdom, and love for others become essential to guide our steps. Revelation, besides being a book of prophecies, is a book of hope, inviting us to rebuild our relationship with God, nature, and the universe itself. The story doesn't end here. Hebrew scriptures like the Zohar provide an even more intriguing lens for this cosmic narrative. They describe the existence of multiple levels of reality, spiritual dimensions inhabited by beings of pure energy and consciousness, entities that transcend our limited understanding of time and space. Could these be the Elohim mentioned in Genesis, the creative forces behind our universe? Imagine the vastness of the cosmos, filled with worlds invisible to our eyes, pulsating with subtle energies we are only beginning to understand. What if these multidimensional beings, described in Kabbalah as angels or beings of light, were the architects of life, the guardians of cosmic knowledge, present since the dawn of time? What if the answer to the mystery of creation, to the divine spark residing in each of us, is intertwined with the history of these stellar travelers? Now let's bring this analysis to a crucial point in history, the figure of Jesus. Yes, the one revered as the Messiah, the Son of God. What might he have to say about this quest for cosmic truth, about the presence of other beings in the universe? In his teachings, Jesus constantly invites us to look beyond appearances, to seek the truth that sets us free. In various passages, he urges us to remember, to awaken the ancestral memory residing within each of us. Remember that powerful phrase, as it was in the days before the flood. Jesus refers us to a distant time, a period the Bible describes as an era of moral decay, of distancing from the divine light. A time when, according to some interpretations, the interference of celestial beings in human life was more prevalent. Could it be that Jesus, with his divine wisdom, was warning us about the dangers of disconnecting from our spiritual essence, from the cosmic order? Was he inviting us to investigate the past, to recognize the mistakes that led to humanity's downfall, so we do not repeat the same patterns? Kabbalah teaches that history repeats in cycles, in spirals of learning. What does the story of the flood reveal to us? That arrogance, the unbridled pursuit of power, and attachment to material pleasures can lead to destruction. And aren't we living in a time of excess, environmental imbalance, and endless conflicts today? Does history repeat itself? It is up to each of us, with discernment and courage, to seek the truth and build a different future. But ultimately, what future awaits us? Whatever your belief or faith, it's impossible to deny the feeling that we are undergoing a profound transformation, a true turning point in human history. What if this crucial moment is connected to what we've discussed so far? If the presence of these multidimensional beings, the ancient wisdom pulsing in sacred texts, points us toward a grand future, a new era of peace, harmony, and spiritual elevation. In various mystical traditions, we find the prophecy of a messianic era, a period of profound spiritual transformation and reconnection with the divine light. A time when humanity will awaken to its true nature, transcending the limitations of selfishness and materialism to build a more just and compassionate world. What if this messianic era is already underway, with the subtle influence of these beings of light guiding us, urging us to awaken to our true essence? Imagine this, a future where humanity, finally reconciled with itself and the cosmos, can experience the fullness of creation, the union with the divine. But my friends, the Messianic era will certainly not be a passive event, something handed to us on a silver platter. It is an active process, requiring effort, compassion, study, and above all, a profound inner transformation from each of us. It is through our own spiritual elevation, the expansion of our consciousness, that we contribute to the construction of this grand future. My friends, we have reached the end of our journey today, but the quest for truth and understanding the mysteries of the universe is an eternal journey. I sincerely hope that this dive into sacred texts and ancient tales has ignited in you the flame of curiosity, the pursuit of knowledge, and most importantly, the spark of hope. Yes, because when we talk about aliens and multidimensional beings, we are speaking above all about the vastness of creation, the infinite possibilities residing within each of us. If there is one essential message I want to leave with you today, it is that we are not alone. We never have been. Ancestral wisdom pulses in our DNA, whispering through the ages, inviting us to awaken to our true nature, spiritual beings having a human experience. We are part of something much greater, connected to a cosmic web of energy and consciousness that transcends our limited understanding. And what does the future hold for us? My dear friends, the future is built at every moment, with every thought, every action, every choice we make. It is up to each of us, as conscious beings and co-creators of our reality, to choose the path of love, compassion, and wisdom. May the pursuit of the light, whatever its source, be our guiding beacon on this path. To continue this journey together, I extend a special invitation. Click the link in the video description and follow my profile on Instagram. If you wish to contribute to the channel and the production of more content, consider making a donation of any amount through the Ko-fi platform link, also in the description. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the Rich Mind channel to receive notifications of upcoming videos. Share this video with your loved ones who might benefit from these teachings. Comment below with your thoughts on this video and suggest topics you would like to see in future videos. A big hug to each of you. Stay in the light and see you in the next video.